Hello and welcome to episode 214 of the Casual Try Hard podcast. I'm Brian,
And I'm James.
and today we're talking about back in my day, Dragons of Tarkir.
That's right. I'm going away to school again next week, so this is what we do so we can double up episodes.
Yeah, we
Um,
talk about cards that are quaint.
quaint. That's a nice way of saying it. But,
Yes.
but also, like, it seems like you guys really like the story time episodes. We get a lot of people asking for more stories, and we've had some good feedback on these in the past. So we hope you enjoy this little trip down memory lane as we revisit Dragons of Tarkir.
Yes. So, if you want to reach out to us on social media and tell us how awesome this is and how you're looking forward to, what was the set after Dragons? We got to skip the score sets, right? We can't just do
Origins?
I guess Magic Origins is a good one.
Yeah. Origins was a decent
Uh,
set.
Yeah, and you want to tell us how excited you are to talk about Magic Origins. You can get at us on social media. All of those links, Facebook, Twitter, Discord, are in the description.
Yeah. Make sure you hit us up. Let us know what you think about this episode. If you got any ideas for future episodes, we're always willing to entertain ideas. If you're looking to support the show, there's two ways you can do it. The first is our TCG player affiliate link, tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. It doesn't cost you anything to use that link. The cards cost exactly the same, whether you follow that link or not. But if you do follow that link, we get a percentage of whatever you buy. That helps to pay our bills. Making a podcast isn't free, and we rely on support from you guys to help us continue to do this. If you want to support us more directly, patreon.com/casualtryhardmtg is how you can do that. You can chip a couple bucks in. It goes right to us, and you get to reap some rewards. You get put on my mailing list for when I have cool stuff to send out. You get to look at our show notes so you know what the upcoming week's show is going to be about. And you get to listen to a whole nother hour of content from us during our pre-show. If any of that sounds good, or if you just like what we do and want to support us, we would appreciate it if you chipped in over at patreon.com/casualtryhardmtg. And then one
Yeah.
more thing before we start is make sure you check out our YouTube channel. Brian's got some limited content that goes up Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We have the tomfoolery videos on Tuesdays where I play whatever, historic brawl mostly. And on Thursdays, you get a video version of this podcast where you get to watch us talk at each other the whole time. It's entertaining.
Yes.
We're
It
not
is.
we're not the worst people in the world to look at.
No, it could be worse. Or it could be
Absolutely.
better. I could have a beard.
Ooh, I don't know
Oh
if this
yeah.
podcast can handle two beards.
I don't
Although
know if I don't know if my face can handle one. Uh,
I don't know, man. There was
or
a
make
little
one.
while during lockdown where you were
I was
working
pretty
on it.
fuzzy.
Yeah, you're a little fuzzy.
So, all right. So, Dragons of Tarkir.
Yeah, we're getting in our time machine and we're setting it for March of 2015.
Wow. That's a long time ago.
8 years. Yeah, that's I can't believe it's
Eight
been
years.
that long.
Yeah, it's weird. Like it's kind of like when I started playing like Innistrad felt like a long time ago. Like, oh my gosh, how would you ever get a Liliana of the Veil?
Right,
And that was like 3 or 4 years before I started playing.
right.
Like now it's like, oh my god, how would you get fill in the blank card
Hmm.
uh from this set? It's like that's like when we started like New Phyrexia or something.
Well, I mean, chances are anything in this set's been reprinted into the dirt, so you can probably find it in the bulk bin.
Fair. And also the cards are quaint. But you know what I mean?
Correct.
Just like
Yeah,
to how like different like Innistrad or like one of those sets that you weren't playing when you started,
yeah,
like that you had missed, felt like so long ago and foreign.
right.
And then you're like, oh, that set I played, didn't I play that like 2 years ago? And it's like, no.
Yeah, that was almost a
Like,
decade ago.
yes, nearly a decade ago. So this is the end of this set marks the end of an era.
Hmm.
It's the end of the 3 block structure. So like I kind of want to say where it was like really well defined was like Urza's block.
Mhm.
Like that's where I know that like Mirage, Tempest, Visions were all
Kind of mixed up.
like, but they were all kind of like a block,
Yeah.
right? But like I feel like Urza's block was like the first time that it felt like this is
Cohesive.
a block.
Yeah.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
I think that was the first time when they started designing for story too. So they used like the 3-set block structure to tell a story. Before
Yeah.
that, like you mentioned Mirage, Visions, Tempest, um there wasn't a whole lot of story like until Tempest. So Mirage and
Yeah.
Visions, they like had some stuff going on, but there wasn't like a story they were trying to tell. That really
Yeah,
didn't
there
start
wasn't
till
like something
Urza's.
tying the cards together.
Yeah.
So kind of since Urza's block was like 99.
Something like that, yeah.
So for like almost 20, I guess almost 15 years. No, like yeah, 15,
15
16
years.
years.
Yeah.
Magic sets were all released the same way, where you had 3 sets, and then they were all drafted the same way,
Mhm.
where you drafted like 3 of the first set, and then like 2 and 1, and then 1, 1 and 1.
Mhm.
Right? And so when we talked about Fate, we talked about Fate being like the weird pivot set
Mhm.
where it was Khan's Fate and now it was Khan's Dragon. Sorry, Fate
Fate
Dragons.
Dragons. Yep.
And so this was the end of like those 3 blocks to tell a story.
Right.
And then we went to 2-set blocks and that proved too cumbersome. So now we're kind of in like YOLO land.
Yeah. No blocks, whatever we want.
Yeah, but it's like, well, we're gonna be on Keldheim for 1 set, New Capetta for a set, but like we're gonna do this like 4-set block that is like Dominaria, back in time Dominaria,
Yeah.
all leading to like Phyrexia.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, there are no rules for us anymore. We get to do whatever we want.
YOLO.
YOLO.
Yep.
So, yeah, so this is the end of an era
Yeah.
with dragons.
It was also kind of the last like traditional style Magic set. I had in the show notes here that this was the first set with the hollow foil, like the updated card frame, but that's not right
Mhm.
because that was M15.
Yeah,
So that would have been out
like
like before this.
mhm.
But
that was the core set immediately preceding it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what was important about this is that this was the last set before like alternate treatments.
What was the alternate treatment in like
We had
uh
expeditions, BFZ.
oh yeah, that was or like the lottery cards. I guess
Yeah.
Origins didn't have that, did it?
Oh yeah, I
Like,
guess that's true.
and Origins is weird because it feels like it should be a core set, but this was during when they were like,
No core
we don't
sets.
like core sets.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's like it's the last like true expansion set before they were like, let's try lottery cards for 2 years
Yeah.
and see how that works. Um, it was, uh, gosh, there was also an additional game offered at pre-release. What was this one? What
Oh,
was
you
this
don't
game?
remember these? Like during
No.
so for Theros, they had like there were like game modes that you could play. Like you took your deck and you played against like the Xenagos deck or whatever. It was like
Okay.
a mini game you could play like during pre-release. And then for M15 you played against Garrick. Do you remember the big oversized like Garrick cards?
I didn't do the pre-release. I came in at
Oh,
the
that's
end
right.
of
Yeah.
M15.
So in M15 pre-release, I think every pre-release kit came with like a giant oversized Garrick Planeswalker card that had like
Okay.
30 loyalty or something on it, and like it did a random thing every turn, and you had to beat Garrick.
Gotcha.
And then for Fate Reforged, you had the Ugin's Fate game where I forget what you even did, but you played a game and then you won like the Ugin's Fate packs
Yep.
that had like alternate art for cards or
Hmm.
whatever. And then for this, they had another pre-release game. I think they called it Dragon Fury, but it was basically bowling with spin downs. Like there was a cardboard thing on a desk you set up, and then it had like little standees, and you would like throw your spin down at the standees, and depending, which ones you knocked down and how many, you could win like different promo cards. And then after this, I don't think they did those at all. I can't think of any after that.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, you want to get people back in the game store, do fun other stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I mean, like some of the sets had activities. I remember like Kaladesh, remember, came with those little punch out Thopter cards where you could like build a Thopter.
yeah, I remember that. And they were pretty cool.
They were cool.
Like, and the little Thopters were pretty all right. And then there was like, remember they also came with like checklist cards. It was like play
things
like
to do during your pre-release.
yes, like win a game, like get a draw, play 4 spells in a turn.
Yeah.
You'd like check it off, and then some game stores would like give you a little prize if you like did the whole checkoff sheet.
Yeah.
Bring back fun, Wizards.
No, instead they don't care. They want you to sit at home and play Magic, not go to your LGS.
You got to play Arena at home.
Yep.
Pants cost money.
That's right.
Money you could be spending on Wizards of the Coast products. Unless they're like Jace themed pants, and then that's okay.
Yeah.
So with it being a like bridge set, like with it kind of being like, so Cons was the old present, Fate Reforged was the past, and then Dragons was new present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a time travel story, so things get weird in time travel. They always do. But like, as far as story like continuity goes, as far as anybody knew up until that point, like Cons was current story.
Yes.
And then we went back in time with Fate Reforged, and then in Dragons, like Sarkhan had made changes in Fate and saved Ugin, or released Ugin or something.
Yeah.
And then like Dragons were in control instead of the clans. So we got
so it was
Dragons instead.
Yes, it was clan. Yeah, instead of Cons, we're the clans.
Yeah.
Now it's like things changed in like they weren't were they elder dragons in Cons?
There
were
weren't dragons in Cons. That was the thing. There were no dragons.
Oh, I'm thinking of the ones from Fate that were little.
Yeah.
And then they survive and they become the big elder dragons that are in
Dragon Lord Silumgar.
Yeah. But they wanted to like tie Cons to dragons. So they kind of like made twists on all the mechanics. So the mechanics were all, if you squinted, like similar to the ones that you had in Cons. Right. So for our mechanics, we have Bolster. And Bolster is choose a creature with the least toughness and put a counter on it. So when something would come into play or a card said Bolster on it, you would like look at all your creatures and whatever had 1 toughness, got a counter.
Right.
If there was a tie, you got to pick which one.
Correct.
And then if your lowest thing had 2 toughness, you got to pick one of the 2 toughness things. And that was kind of a play on, what was it, Outlast?
Outlast, yeah.
Cons.
Bolster could have a number with it also. It wasn't always just 1 counter. Sometimes it was.
That is true.
2 or 3 or 4 counters.
And then there's Dash, which we all know Dash from the Stupid Monkey.
That's right. Ragavan has Dash.
Yeah. So it's an alternate cost. It's still casting it, but it's casting for an alternate cost, and the creature gains haste and then returns to your hand end of turn.
Yep.
Which was, I guess, like their play on the raid mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really get the parallel there, but...
Well, they both were like attacking kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what was kind of funny is you had mentioned that the mechanics are kind of a play on what the mechanics used to be.
Mhm.
One of the other things they did was they like changed the cons around to show like what the cons were like in the new future,
Mhm.
where you had like the old con that was powerful and head of whatever, and the new cons are like peons. So what they did with Zergo, like Zergo in cons was kind of a beating. It was like a 4-mana 7/4 with indestructible or something.
Yeah, like it's like one in Mardu colors, like 7/4, like has indestructible when it attacks or something.
Yeah. And then in dragons, it was a 1-mana 2/2.
Yeah. Uh, with dash for one in a red.
With yeah, with dash. Yep,
Yeah, but he was a punk.
that's right.
Uh,
He was the bell ringer. He got to ring the bell for Colligan.
yes. Okay, buddy.
Yeah, ding ding, time to eat.
Um, and then I don't think Rebound had like a parallel from the other set, other than kind of being like related to like Jeskai and like prowess.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it was like the spell thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Rebound is from you have it from Rise,
Yeah, Rise of Eldrazi.
and so you cast the spell, it goes to your graveyard, and you get to cast it again from your graveyard for free at the beginning of the next upkeep.
Does it go to your
Not
graveyard? No,
graveyard,
it
or
gets
is it
exiled.
exile?
Yeah, it gets
Exile,
exiled
that's right. Which back in the old days was illegally putting it on top of your deck so you didn't forget to cast it your next upkeep.
every time. Sorry.
You're not allowed to do that. It's like, well, I'm gonna forget, so we're just gonna do this. We're
Yeah,
playing it LGS REL.
that's
So
right.
so it goes on top of my deck.
Yep.
Um and like that was fun. And again, we all know Rebound from Ephemerate.
Mm-hmm.
Just Modern Horizons just like putting a bad taste in everyone's mouth for classic mechanics. And it is bad that Dash is now a classic mechanic.
I mean, yeah, 2015. It was 8 years ago.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Yep, classic.
Um
Then we had a couple new mechanics that were new
yeah.
for this set. We had I think I missed one too. Oh no, I didn't. Manifest was Fate at this set.
Yeah.
So first up we had Exploit, which we just had back in Midnight Hunt, so I think everybody knows what Exploit does at this point. But that was a brand new mechanic for blue black in Dragons. And then we
That one
had
doesn't have like a good parallel from cons. Other than like
um
like Delve cared
yeah,
about your graveyard and Exploit let you put stuff in your graveyard,
yeah,
but
yeah, not the same though.
not the same.
And then we had Formidable, which cares about having creatures totaling 8 power. So it could be
Yes.
8/1/1s or 1/8/1.
Yes. And then that usually then turned on some ability.
Yeah, it was. You had mentioned parallels. It works basically the same as Ferocious, which is
Mhm.
what the mechanic was before this, except instead of having one 4-power creature, it cares about just having 8 power on the battlefield. But
So
yeah,
like Sirach, like it's like Sirach the Hunt Caller,
mhm.
2 green for a 5/4. Beginning of combat on your turn, if creatures you control have total 8 power or greater, target creature you control gains haste until end of turn.
Yeah,
So like that often just meant that Sirach the Hunt Caller gave itself haste, and you had a hasty 4-mana 5/4.
right. The I think the other relevant Formidable card was the Shaman of the Forgotten Ways.
Yeah, that tapped for extra mana.
No, it was Biorhythm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It taps for extra mana regardless.
yeah.
Uh, and then
If
yeah,
you have
Formidable.
Ferocious, or yeah,
It's
Formidable.
what is it? It's 9 green.
Yeah,
Each player's life total becomes the number of creatures they control.
yep.
Um, and I guess the top is Gwenna,
Mm-hmm.
which I had not realized that it was Gwenna.
Yep.
Do 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 do.
And now you know.
Yeah. Uh, So that mechanic was fine.
Yeah, it was all right.
And then
What
the
you we
reason I
kind of
was
skipped over like exploit though. Like what did how was exploit?
so exploit sacking a whole creature for an effect is a big cost to play,
Mhm.
unless like you really want that creature in the graveyard, like
Yeah,
a la the rally deck.
right.
Um, so it didn't play real well in like in 60 card formats,
Mhm.
and there were only a few like limited ones that were good. Was it Gurmag Drownder? Am I thinking of the right one?
Um, the one that I
Uh,
remember was Sidisi's Faithful.
yeah, the bounce one, the 1 mana bounce.
Yeah,
It was an 04.
either an O3 or an O4. Yeah, big
I
old
actually
butt.
have the card file app, so I should look. Sidisi's Faithful was blue for an 04 exploit. When you exploit a creature, return target creature to its owner's hand, and Sidisi's Faithful could sack itself.
Yeah,
So it was a sorcery speed bounce spell, or an 04,
right.
or it could be both if you fed it something else. Um, but Gurmag Drowner was the like limited card. It's a it's a 3 and a blue for a 2/4
Mhm.
with exploit. If it exploits, look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard.
Yeah,
So, like, it's fine. It's basically Organ Hoarder from
yeah.
like Organ Hoarder looks at 3 and puts 2 in your graveyard,
Oh.
uh, without having to sack a creature. See, quaint.
Wasn't Organ Hoarder a 3/3 also though?
It was a 3/2.
3/2.
Maybe it was a 3/3. Uh, it was good.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's a more relevant body than a 2/4 is.
it is. Um, so the only like exploit creature that got any run really other than your Sidisi's Faithful
Mhm.
was Sidisi herself got played a little bit.
Well, I mean, Sidisi still gets some reasonable play in EDH.
Yeah. I mean, apparently it is still $10.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, sorry, $7. The promos are more. But yeah, it's apparently still $7 all these years later.
Yep.
Tutors are good in 100 card formats.
Turns out when there's a tutor in your command zone, it's real easy to assemble your combo.
I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah, that is a good point.
Yep.
Um, and then the reason I brought up the whole like parallels to other mechanics and cons
Mhm.
was for. Can we safely say this is the worst name mechanic?
Yeah, but like you gotta say it though.
Megamorph.
Megamorph. Thank you.
Not regular morph. No. Megamorph.
Yep.
So, Megamorph, it's just, I think it's just morph, but bigger. Or it's just morph, but mega.
Yeah.
So, with a creature with Megamorph, you played it like a morph, 3 mana, face down, as a vanilla 2/2.
Yep.
And then when you unmorphed it, it got a +1/+1 counter.
So exactly the same, except it brings a counter with it.
Yeah. So it's mega now.
Yep.
It was um the most memed mechanic at release I think we've had.
Absolutely.
Other than like Cleave has a good name, but
Just a
then
terrible
terrible
mechanic.
execution.
Yeah.
Megamorph has a stupid name and like an innocuous implementation. It's like fine, whatever.
Well, so like the problem with Megamorph is that there's no reason Megamorph couldn't have just been Morph and then with a rider on the front side.
Absolutely. Right. When you unmorph this, it gets a +1/+1 counter.
Yeah.
Done.
Like
Done. We did it.
there's no reason for it to be its own special mechanic.
But if you're in the like world building room,
Yeah.
you're like, no, We can't have morph again.
Yeah, we need flavor
The
text
world-
ability words.
Yeah. The world is different now. There needs to be a different mechanic. Hey man, Megamorph?
Yeah.
Like this comes in from watching the Power
What
Rangers
if
with
all
his
the
kids.
morphs get a Red Bull?
Wow. So, all right, man. Hear me here. I was watching cartoons with my kid, man, and these kids, they love the Power Rangers, and they got Megazords. So we give all of our morphs get Megazords. Yeah, Megamorphs. We're like, okay, Mara, if we say yes, will you go away? Yeah. Megamorph it is. Write it on the cards.
Yeah.
Done.
That's probably how it went down.
Pretty much. Yep. Worst name mechanic ever.
Absolutely.
It played fine.
Yeah, it played like Morph. Morph is a fine mechanic.
No big deal. Morph is a mechanic that should come back at some point.
Yeah. I think like the difference between Morph and Megamorph, like all joking aside, is that I think I remember reading an article that with Morph, they have to be careful how they design cards because it's super easy to blow your opponent out during combat.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think that was like the entire design of the first set morphs were in.
Yeah.
Which is like, you're going to unmorph this and you're going to annihilate your opponent. And they just have to guess and see which card you annihilate them with.
Yeah. So like during cons, I know they were real careful like how they sized creatures so that when things unmorphed, like they wouldn't just eat a creature unless there was a significant mana investment into them.
Mm-hmm.
And with Megamorph, I mean, what you noticed is that a lot of the Megamorph costs were high, but also the ability for you to blow your opponent out in combat was higher because whatever creature you had like gets bigger.
It gets bigger, and like I feel like the Megamorph creatures weren't as big. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're gonna talk about our boy, Death Mist Dinosaur.
Yeah.
And like that card was a 3/3.
Right.
And it unmorphed into a 4/4. So like 3/3, 3/4, 2/1, 5/1. Like if you blocked your 2/2 with it, you blocked it with a 2/2 when it was morphed, you still got to eat it.
Right.
1/1, 3/3, 3/3. Like the biggest one's a 3/4? I guess there's a 6/5 that unmorphs for 7. Oh, it has Defender. So you get one whack in with it, and then it just like sits back and is like, yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, and there's another there's a 6/5 green idiot for 7.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's a 5/5 and everything else tops out at 3/3. So they're like smaller in general. Because the morphs in the other set were bigger.
Yeah.
Like you untap, you unmorph it, and you get a 5/5.
Mm-hmm.
These are like, I worked real hard. I got a 4/4. I did it. Did the thing. So, as it mechanic was fine. It's one of those mechanics that like no one ever thinks about. No one's ever like, oh yeah.
I mean, I
long for the days of Megamorph.
Yeah.
You thought about Death Mist Raptor, but you haven't thought about anything else.
Right.
You're like, I love you, Death Mist Raptor.
I have
my buddy.
Not insignificant position in Death Mist Raptors.
One day, buddy, you're coming back.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they also caught a reprint in a commander deck, so they're worthless.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yep. The story of MTG Finance. I had this huge position on this card. Unfortunately, caught a reprint in like the 75th product this year.
Right. Awkward.
Commander Deck 85 reprinted all of these cards. No.
Yeah.
My kid's college fund was all in Death Mist Raptors. No.
I mean, I think I only had like 15 of them, but still.
Yeah. but still suck.
And they were under $1 for a very long time.
So what are our what were our like major limited archetypes here?
Well, you had mentioned kind of at the top of the show that this was like the block structure was weird here because this was only meant to be drafted with fate and not with cons. And that meant that like the signposts, like we know them today, there's like every set has 10 signposts because there's, 10 draftable color pairs. There's only 5 signposts in this set because it's meant to be drafted with fate that had the rest of the signposts.
Oh, I never realized that. Yeah. So these have the
there's a dragon
allied color.
Yeah, there's a dragon for each of them. So you've got the first one is Cunning Breeze Dancer. It's blue white for or 4 blue white for a 4/4 flyer. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +2/+2 till end of turn. So it's super prowess. Mega prowess, if you will.
Yeah, man, let's just do the whole set, but mega.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll leave Cracked Out Morrow alone.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Green white was +1/+1 counters. The signpost was Enduring Scale Lord for green white for a 4/4 flyer. And whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on another creature you control, you also get to put a +1/+1 counter on Enduring Scale Lord. So when you bolstered, you also bolstered the Scale Lord. And then blue black was Sacrifice to kind of play along with Exploit. Ruthless Death Fang was the signpost for blue black for a 4/4 flyer. And when you sacrifice a creature, target opponent sacrifices a creature. So like the Dictate Erebos, or what was the other one? Grave Pact?
Grave Pact.
Yep. And then we had red green is just kind of stompy. Like, do you find it weird that the identity of red green is like kind of hard to nail down in most sets? Like it's usually just like stompy or like caring about something random that the colors happen to do.
Caring about being stompy. Like, remember Theris Beyond Death? It was like, do you have a 4-powered creature, but we're not going to call it ferocious?
Right.
Then your stuff does a thing.
Well, I don't know if you remember this, but ferocious was a ripoff from Shards. Because the Naya mechanic was like, we care about things with 4 power, but we're not going to name it.
Oh, okay. I hadn't realized that.
Yeah.
I just want to like, so all these dragons you're reading are 6 mana 4/4 flyers.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just looking at like one right now, and like the uncommon signposts are like a little smaller because they're not dragons, but it's like, hey, I draw you cards every 3rd spell you cast, or hey, I'm a 4 mana 5/5 flyer if you build your deck around me.
Yeah.
And then we're like, here's a 4/4 flyer for 6.
Yep.
I don't know if you can hear the squealing downstairs, as Gavin is apparently not about that bed life. At
not
9
wanting
o'clock.
to go to bed, huh?
At 9 o'clock, yeah.
Poor guy.
So what are our
poor
other
Hannah.
things here? So we had, poor Hannah, really. Savage Ventmaw?
Yeah, the red green was Savage Ventmaw. Like Brian said, they're all 6 mana 4/4 flyers. And when it attacks, you get to add red, green, green to your mana pool, and it stays there till the end of the turn.
Like, this was the first time I'd ever seen the mana goes through like phases.
Yeah.
Like the magic mana. I remember thinking it was super cool. I was like, oh wow.
We had it in original Theros too.
I didn't play a lot of that.
Yeah, because that was Krufix's ability. It made your mana colorless, and then it stuck around.
I just remember thinking like, oh wow, that's so neat. Now it feels like every other set we get something that does this.
Yeah. Also, like this card is completely unplayable.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Like
And then go ahead.
it dies to Doomblade. Like that is the
True.
the problem.
Yeah. And then red black was or I'm sorry, it was aggro. And this one is a 4 mana or 6 mana 4/4 flyer, and when it ETBs, you can basically dash something. You put a creature card with CMC 3 or less from your graveyard or hand onto the battlefield. It gains haste, and then you bring it back to your hand at the beginning of the next end step.
Yeah. Also, like it's funny that like red black has been the exact same like two archetypes for literally ever.
Yep.
So these are all like it's hard looking back at the set with like modern Magic because you're just like these were all fine.
Right.
Like but I don't remember any of them being like super big standouts.
Mm-mm.
Like I think maybe the Enduring Scale Lord would just like mess around and get huge.
Yeah, that was really like powerful and limited.
Mm-hmm.
I think didn't the Swift Warkite see play in like a couple constructed decks?
Maybe I don't remember.
I think that was the only one that saw play in constructed. But yeah, I mean these were basically all limited cards.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the Scale Lord would just get huge basically every time you saw one.
Yeah. Um. There's. It's weird. I don't like some limited environments. I like remember decks and stuff.
Mhm.
This just kind of seems like, whatever. And I know I was playing a lot,
Yeah.
but there's nothing that like really stands out about this limited format that I'm like, oh yeah, I totally remember doing that or really wanting to open this card or that card.
Yeah.
It just kind of feels like there was some limited. We did a thing.
Yep, it happened.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like it's not one of those limited environments you look back on and go like, oh yeah,
Yep.
I remember this.
Either
You
good
like
or
always
bad.
drafted this, good or bad. Like it
Yeah.
just was like this is a thing. It happened.
Yep.
Which is unfortunate.
Mhm.
I'd like it if I could be like, oh yeah, this set did like this and this, and it was cool. Uh, Speaking of limited, I will tell Brian accidentally cheated to win pre-release.
Uh-oh.
I had a Sidisi,
Mhm.
and my opponent went to kill it, and I played Inspiring Call. Draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Those creatures gain indestructible until end of turn.
Oh.
My Sidisi didn't have a +1/+1 counter. I glossed over those
Yeah.
and just was like, creatures get indestructible.
Yeah.
And my opponent was like, okay.
Yeah.
8 years later, I still feel a little bad.
Well, I mean that's kind of what pre-release is for though, is learning the cards. There's an awful lot of play mistakes. Like I remember at pre-releases I would play cards completely wrong the first day and then oh yeah, that wasn't right, and the rest of the weekend I would play them correctly, but
Yeah.
there's a learning curve while you're still figuring the cards out for sure.
Yeah. I just was like, oh, I done goofed.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's nothing that really jumps out where I'm like, oh yeah, this this is what you did.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you remember standard from around this time?
Vaguely,
Okay.
like your the first thing I thought of was a Tarkir red. That was
Yeah.
the first thing I thought of, and that's the first deck you have here.
Yep.
Is that what won the Pro Tour?
Yep. In the hands of Martin Dang. And Atarka red was basically mono red that splashed for Atarka's command.
Mm-hmm. Off of like garbage fixing.
Basically,
4 mana
yeah.
confluences, 1 Temple of Abandon, and 4 Wooded Foothills.
Yep.
And a forest.
A
Garbage fixing.
Yep.
So you've got it's just like the like It plays plays 13 1-drops,
Yep.
and then 2 Goblin Rabble Masters, and everything else is like direct damage and ways to pump things.
Yep. Get him dead red.
Yeah. Wild.
Yep.
Wild that was a deck. I also like that, like, reading the Goldfish,
Mhm.
red, green, blue, black, Pro Tour Dragons of Cons. Pro Tour Dragons of Cons.
Yeah.
But like a Tarkir red was 3 of the top decks. 3 of the top 8?
One of
Or
them.
4.
Well, no, because the one that Jason Chung played was more
it?
of like a mid range.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, it's elves.
Yeah.
There are elves. Playing the correct number of Goblin Rabble Masters, 4.
Oh, and then the third one that Thomas Hendricks played was mono green.
Mono green with.
It was mono green devotion with Dragon Lord Atarka and Xenagos.
Okay. Weird.
Yep.
Okay. I vaguely remember this being a deck.
Yep.
Hornet Queen, good card.
Yep.
So yeah, Tarkir was the first deck I thought of.
I'm surprised you don't
And then
remember the next one.
Esper Dragons.
Yeah.
I don't think I played Esper Dragons, did I?
I mean, it was pretty popular.
Oh, once I see Esper Dragons, it was because of the counter spell that was 1 less if you controlled a dragon.
Yeah.
So it was the 1 blue, but if you revealed a dragon, the Silumgar Scorn or something. If you revealed a dragon or had a dragon in play, it was just counterspell.
Yeah. Yep. It was Silmagar's score. And then there was also Foul Tongue Invocation was a sacrifice edict.
A creature.
Yeah, it was an edict that like let you gained you some life to stabilize if you controlled a dragon.
Yeah. And then the reason it was like there were some just blue-black versions, and that was because Dragon Lord Silumgar was a 6 mana 3/5 that was also a control magic.
Right.
But then they were Esper because of Dragon Lord Ochitai.
Yeah, which is kind of
like,
a nuts card.
Yeah, like so it was 5 mana for a 5/4 flyer, and it had hexproof as long as it was untapped.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it dealt combat damage, you got to anticipate.
Yep.
So it, like, was card advantage and like a difficult to kill threat. And it was kind of set up that you would resolve it. You knew it would be there, or we're pretty sure it would be there when you untapped, and then you had your counter spells to protect it when you attacked with it.
Right.
And then you just like it let you accrue value and snowball the game.
Mm-hmm.
That was a deck that like it didn't feel like it picked up a whole lot like at the like local level. That felt more like almost like I remember it vaguely being more like a Pro Tour like Star City Games deck.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of grinders played it. I remember it from coverage a lot.
Yeah, but it wasn't like a deck that you like ran into at FNM a lot.
Right.
Because one, it was crazy expensive for the time.
Yeah, I mean it had like all of the dragons in it, so they were all chase cards.
Yeah, all the rares and mythics.
Yeah.
But
and a play set of Thoughtseize and a play set of Heroes Downfall, which were expensive at the time.
Yeah. Wow, Ugins are down to $20, man.
Wow.
Yeah, but like, so yeah, Adrian Sullivan's list is an Adrian Sullivan deck of I'm not doing what you guys are doing. Played 5 Planeswalkers and then removal.
That sounds about right.
And then, oh my god. Could you imagine playing Perilous Vault in the year of our Lord 2023?
No, but I definitely played it back then.
4 mana, and then pay 5, tap it, exile all non-land permanents.
Yep.
Could not imagine playing it now.
It enters the battlefield tapped, right?
No.
No? I thought you couldn't pop at the turn it came out.
I'm reading the card. It does not. It might not be able to pop at the turn it comes out because it would be 9 mana.
Oh, yeah, maybe that was it.
You tapped all of your lands to play it.
Yeah.
Wild. Dragon Lord's Prerogative? Dear God. So yeah, like you had this was one of those standards where like this Pro Tour was like you had the aggro decks to get under the control decks,
Mhm.
and then the control decks to smush everything else.
Right.
And some stuff like snuck in. And then Brad Nelson in ninth was playing uh oh, he wasn't playing the Death Mist Dinosaur. That's sad.
That is sad.
He was just playing Siege Rhinos.
Yep. It's Surak the Hunt Caller.
Yeah, hey.
But so
Hasty
he
Siege.
was on like the super aggro version though, with Warden of the First Tree, Fleecemane Lion,
Yeah.
and the Death Dealer. So he
Not
didn't
the
have time
grindy
for
version.
grinding out Death Mist
Grinding out
Raptors.
values. What about Chester here? Nope, Chester not about that life either. Even more controlling. He went more controlling than Death Mist
Yeah.
Raptor.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, that was a Tassiger deck.
yeah, so like we'll see how this Pro Tour that's coming up this weekend shakes out. But like
Mhm.
if you look at this, there's like a lot of variety.
Yeah.
Right? Like
A ton
in
of
the
variety.
top.
Like if you guys, well, the patrons get access to the show notes and they can click on the link that like has like the complete list of all the deck lists, and yeah, there's a ton of different archetypes in here.
And like the top played card was Hero's Downfall at 44% of decks. So there were a lot of decks that were black.
Yeah.
Right. Then Corsive Crewfix was 38%. Caryatid was 32. So like it was like a green blackish kind of format, but there was a lot that could be done in that green black area.
Mhm.
Right. Like the power level of cards was flatter, I think.
Yeah.
In this like area of Magic. Like Siege Rhino was the best card, but it wasn't so much better than the next thing.
Yeah.
And this was before we figured out how to build collected company decks.
Obviously.
Because now, and I think this is just a big difference of like Magic in general, right? Company would have been spoiled if there was Arena. Company would have been spoiled. There would have been like 30 videos from content creators,
Right.
half of them saying the card was terrible and you'll always miss,
Yeah.
and half telling you how it was busted.
Yeah.
Right. And then after like the first like 3 days of the format on Arena, it'd be like, oh, if my deck's all 3 drops, this card's amazing.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you remember or not, but also right after, it must have been right after the Pro Tour, Frank Karsten released an article breaking down the math of collected company and basically taught everybody how to build a company deck. And then kind of the floodgates were open.
Mm-hmm. But what I mean is like that card wouldn't like sneak through.
Yeah.
Now with like the amount of games that are played and stuff.
Yeah.
But no, it is like refreshing that it's like, oh, look at all these different decks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, there's a lot of like black, green, black, blue, but like for the most part, oh gosh, I was like, oh my god, if someone was playing Bant, it was Craig Westco.
Of course it was.
And I was like, assuming it's just like white-ish weenie, green. So it's a green ramp deck with Den Protector and Death Mist Raptor. We keep talking about Death Mist Raptor. We'll get to what he does.
Yep.
And then at the top end, 2 Dragon Lord Ojutai. Or 3 Dragon Lord Ojutai. With like a light white splash for Fleecemane Lion and Dramoka's Command.
Yeah.
And Mystery of the Unseen.
Well, that's what I was just going to say, is this was the Mastery of the Unseen decks, I think were more of a Star City thing than we're at this Pro Tour. I think they were like really new at this Pro Tour and they hadn't really caught on yet. But there were a couple different flavors of like morph decks. And this is a good time, I guess, to talk about Den Protector Deathmist Raptor. Um, like that was an engine that ultimately ended up powering like the Abzan decks.
Mhm.
They kind of moved away from the aggro and moved into more mid-rangey with the. So Deathmist Raptor, like Brian said earlier, has Megamorph and it gets a counter when you unmorph it or whatever. But the best part about that card was when you turned a morph face up and it was in your graveyard, it came back into play.
And it
And
came back either face up or face down.
right. And it itself was a 3/3 Death Toucher. So it was basically a removal spell that you could buy back for as long as you wanted to turn morphs right side up. With Den Protector, when you turn Den Protector right side up, you got to regrowth something. Take a card back out of your graveyard, put it in your hand. And its Megamorph cost was 2 mana. So it was pretty cheap to do. And if you could get a bunch of Deathmist Raptors in your graveyard, get them back with the Den Protector, you could have a pretty big turn out of nowhere while also like grinding out advantage.
And
So
also, Den Protector says get back target card,
yeah,
which means your Den Protector that died earlier you could buy back.
right,
So you could always just have this like store of Deathmist Raptors because you could just loop Den Protectors.
right.
So it was a like good grindy engine.
Yep.
Simpler times because like flipping like 8 mana for basically 5 mana for an Eternal Witness.
Yeah.
Not gonna get the job done in 2023.
No, definitely not.
But like the games were interesting.
Mhm.
I think something that like if you're newer to Magic, something that's very different about like cons block standard is like the games weren't like the games had more back and forth than I think games do now.
Oh yeah.
Games now is like I resolved my thing. It's got a paragraph. If I untap with it, I'm going to get so much advantage it doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
And like the big snowball advantage card was a Siege Rhino. Now you lost 3 life and they gained 3 life and they had a 4/5,
Mm-hmm.
but like it wasn't like they drew 4 cards off of it.
Right.
And now like a lot of the stuff is just like, yeah, I'm gonna draw a bunch of cards or whatever, or like
Give you all your mana back.
yeah, or Elish Norn in this set. If you untap with it, you're gonna draw a bunch of cards the
Mhm.
next turn, and the game will be over.
Right.
So like, can you answer it right now? Well, I had a leyline binding, so no. Okay, cool. So you die.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. Or my like no, I had a leyline binding. Now I get to get 2 of your things. So now the game's over. So like you could like grind out like I'll block your Siege Rhino with my 3/3 Death Toucher, and then in 3 turns I'll get it back.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was like a reasonable play pattern.
Yeah.
Right. And like the thing to counter that was like I'm gonna go real fast, where I'm just gonna play all the removal and it doesn't matter how many Deathmist Raptors you get back because I'll get rid of them all eventually.
Right.
And then what else? So Abzan, Green Devotion. Amazing that even now Nykthos is powering mono green decks.
Never would have thought, huh?
Never could have imagined that would be a thing.
Yep.
But like I've rattled off like 5 like reasonable decks that people played.
Mhm.
And again, just to kind of compare it now, like I'm not super locked in on standard, but like standard seems much more homogenous.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's new with the new set, but right, like black seems like the best thing to do.
Yeah.
By far. All right. What were the cards that were hyped up from this set?
Do you remember like this preview season or whatever at all?
I do not. I put some cards that weren't hyped but are awesome.
Okay.
In here, but
I kind of had a hard time like remembering this preview season for some reason, and I don't know why.
I was looking through the set hoping something would like click and I'd be like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
That card was supposed to be good.
I do remember a lot of people were talking about Myth Realized.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember that card?
It is an enchantment that whenever you cast a spell, it gets a counter, a myth counter,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can pay like 1 or something, and it becomes a creature with power toughness equal number of myth counters on it.
Yep.
Not even reading it. Look at me go.
Yeah, you can all. I think you can like pay to put a counter on it also.
Maybe. I'm looking for it. There it is. Oh yeah. 2 and a white, put a counter on it.
Yeah. I remember a lot of people talking about that card before the set came out.
Mm-hmm.
And it never did anything. Like I think some people tried to make it do something, but it was just bad.
I think Secure the Waste got some hype. It's just like an instant speed token thing.
See, I don't think that card got any hype at all. I don't like that card didn't even get expensive until later in the format, I don't think.
I don't know. I were just playing it like in Jeskai tokens. That's kind of like the thing you wanted to do
Yeah.
in the tokens deck.
Well, that was a deck that was later on in the format though, I think.
Okay, maybe I remember the early Jeskai tokens decks with like Stoke
Oh, okay.
and stuff.
And then
What else?
Thunderbreak Regent
Mm-hmm.
was super hyped during preview season and was also a super solid card all throughout its time in standard.
2 red for a 4/4 flying dragon. And whenever it becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you deal 3 damage to that player.
Yep. That's probably
So
an uncommon now, right?
maybe. It would not surprise me.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, that's a really good uncommon.
Yeah.
But yeah. I remember building around Descent of Dragons.
Do you?
Yeah. Thinking that card might be good. 4 red for a sorcery, destroy any number of target creatures. Each player, for each creature destroyed this way, its controller puts a plus 1 plus a 4/4 dragon creature token on the with flying on the battlefield. So you basically got to turn all of your creatures into dragons.
Yeah.
And you could do that. No one ever did.
Right.
But you could. Because like it comboed with Dragon Tempest. Whenever a dragon entered, you dealt X damage, where X is that dragon's power.
Oh, yeah.
Or sorry, where X is equal to the number of dragons you control. So you could like descent and make a bunch of dragons, and they would all see each other, and then like pow, 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 pow.
Yeah.
But that never happened.
No.
It was a dream. Not hype cards, but if you just want to like look at some interesting Magic art,
Mm-hmm.
I might do this in the wrong order from the show notes. There's Summit Prowler.
Mm-hmm.
Back when you got 4 mana vanillas, it was a 2 red for a 4/3 vanilla. But some EP really held it down in both Cons and Dragon Limited. And if you look at the Cons art and the Dragons art, it's the exact same picture, but in the Dragons art, there are 2 dragons behind him that are not in the Cons art.
Okay.
So that's how you know which one you have. Is now he's in a world with dragons where he's going to get eaten.
Yeah.
And before he was the king of the common 4 mana 4/3s. And then no cool story thing, but like I just remember the art on Butcher's Glee where he's just going ham.
Yeah.
Like that art was so fun. I think people were hyped about Sidisi a little bit, right?
I don't really remember Sidisi getting a lot of hype. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, it's hard. Like cards, I played Avatar of the Resolute.
Oh yeah, that was a solid card.
Green for a 3/2 with reach and trample, and it gets a +1/+1 counter for each other creature you control with a +1/+1 counter.
Yeah.
So like you could like maybe set it up that it was like a 4/3 on turn 2.
Well, so the thing about Avatar the Resolute was it was double green pips for the devotion decks.
Mm-hmm.
And we also had hardened scales in this format.
Yeah.
So it was just big.
Just big. Oh, bless you, I think.
Yep. Sorry.
That's right. I don't know what else there was that was like, oh yeah. Well, and then of course, uh, a card that was maybe wrongly not super hyped, but ended up being the like card that this set is known for.
Collected Company.
Collected Company,
Yeah.
right? Like you
Yeah.
had to
I
change
don't
the
think
way.
that card was hyped at all.
Yeah, you have to change the way you build your decks, but it it did a thing,
Yep.
right? Like it has like stood the test of time
Yeah, I
and been
remember. Was it? It had to be the Clash pack for this set. I think had a Collected Company and a Windswept Heath in it.
um it was one of the precons
Yeah,
had Windswept Heath. Was it the Clash pack?
it had a Collected
So
Company
okay,
in it too.
so from March or like April March, uh Collected Company was $3, and it hit got to $10 by January.
Mhm.
So it was under $10 for almost a year, and then shot up to $35 um in June of 2016.
Yeah.
Because that was uh Oath of the Gatewatch, Reflector Mage,
Hmm.
Shadows over Innistrad, like Crypto Rights was in that deck, maybe? I don't
Yeah.
remember. Right? It's like that was the like that
Well,
was the
the
heyday
rally
of
decks
that.
played Company, so that's why it shot
Hmm.
up like around that time. Also, around
Yeah.
like Oath.
Yeah, because that was like right that January was the like there were these things called GPs that happened every weekend and people got together and played, and like
Wild.
someone won the one like GP Oakland or something. It was a West Coast GP
Hmm.
with Rally.
Yeah.
Like right at the beginning of the year. It was like Christmas, New Year's Magic.
Yep.
And they won that and then it took off.
Yep.
So but yeah, like this is the card. This is Collecting Company is the card from this set.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like if you erased all the other cards from this set, no one would really notice except for
Um.
Company.
Well, no, I think there's one other card people would notice.
Mm, K Command, yeah.
Oh, that's not the one I was thinking of, but yeah, K Command also.
Okay.
Um.
What's one are you thinking?
Impact Tremors.
Yeah, true. That is like some reason like a $3 common.
I think it's more than that.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Impact Tremors 1 in the red for an enchantment, and when a creature comes into play, deal 1 damage.
Yeah, it's just like a staple EDH combo piece.
Oh god, it is $6 at Card Kingdom right now.
Yeah.
Uh there you go. It is 3 cents on Moto. Yeah, it was like nothing, and then I don't know what happened around Ixalan, but it went from like 30 cents to a buck 40. And then Ikoria, it went from like a buck 20 to 2. And it's just like worked its way up.
Yeah.
Um,
So, as far as like a lasting impression on Magic that this set had, we kind of already mentioned two of the cards, Collected Company and Colligan's Command.
mhm.
Um, were there any more?
I had Rending Volley down as like my Angels in that super green white Angels deck now gets like Rending Volley down Arena all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Like 1 mana, what does it deal for a white or blue creature?
Mm-hmm.
And it can't be countered.
Yeah.
Right. It's a victim of like 2015, 2016, 2015 design. Because like now it would say Planeswalker and would
Yeah.
be like way more powerful. And then Anafenza the Kin Tree Spirit,
Yeah, that one was
which
relevant.
was a huge card for a while.
Yeah, well, I mean, it replaced a combo piece in a deck that nobody has ever heard of anymore. So,
Malirapod?
yeah, Malirapod
Hey now.
replaced
Uh,
Malira.
so, uh, so there's a mechanic called Persist. There's like Persistent Goblin or something
Mhm.
on Arena. And when they die, they come back with a -1/-1 counter.
Mhm.
And if they don't have a -1/-1 counter already, since Anafenza has Bolster, when a creature comes into play, you bolster one.
Mhm.
A +1/+1 counter and a -1/-1 counter
Oof.
negate each other.
Yep.
So your persist creature comes back and ends up having no counter on it, so you can sack it infinitely.
Right.
Um, so Anafenza did that for a while.
Mhm.
Kolaghan's Command, for those of you who don't know the card, I think James probably knows all the modes. It's red and black. I have faith.
Yeah. It'll hit 2 to any target. It will make your opponent discard a card. It will destroy an artifact.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Raise Dead.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And it's 1 red-black, and it's an instant.
Yep.
And it's one of the few instants that says target player discards a card.
Yeah. So it's super useful to tag your opponent during their draw step when that's the only card in their hand.
Yeah. There was a time many years ago where you could like do the discard thing on your opponent and then return a Snapcaster to your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next turn,
Do it again.
Snapcaster, make them discard, do something, deal them 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
We have too many cards in our hands now for that.
When everything draws a card.
Yeah, for that to be meaningful.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's a handful of cards that like just kind of like have like stood the test of time.
Yeah.
And I would like to point out this is how sets used to be.
Mhm.
Where you're like, oh, there's like 3 cards, one of which is a sideboard card that sees like long-term play out of this set. Wow, this was a pretty good set.
Yeah.
Right?
Didn't
Like what? Like
Dragon Lord Kolaghan see some play in like Reanimator or Dredge or something?
it was so for the olds, in like Manaless Dredge or like LED Dredge in Legacy for the longest time, you would dread return a Flamekin Zealot.
Mhm.
And Flamekin Zealot would give all of your zombies that you got from your bridge from below haste. Dragon Lord Kolaghan does that. It would give them haste and +1/+1.
Yeah.
Dragon Lord Kolaghan just gives everything haste, but it's a 6/5 flyer.
Yeah.
With like beneficial text if they don't die.
Right.
And it's like only worse if you have like 6 zombies or something. Like you have to have a bunch of zombies for it to be worse than Flamekin Zealot. And then there was the other card that saw some play. Because you said that and that wasn't the one I was thinking of.
Oh, okay.
Dragon Lord Dramoka has shown up
Oh,
in
yeah.
Nick Fit for years, where it's just like a 5/7 that can't be countered, and then none of your stuff can be countered after it resolves.
Do you still have Card Kingdom up?
I do, I think.
Plug
Maybe,
in
maybe.
Dragon Lord Dramoka real quick.
Okay, maybe I don't, but we'll find it. I'll do it on Goldfish.
Okay.
Dragon Lord Dramoka. We'll do the Dragon's printing. He was reprinted recently.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it was reprinted recently.
$7.
Okay.
But if we go back, it did get up to 45.
Yeah, that's what
in
I was
2021. It like spiked after AFR
Mm-hmm.
from like 35 to 45-ish. 45-ish. and it's been on the slow decline since. But it was printed in double masters again.
Gotcha.
So yeah, there was a double masters printing, not too long ago. But it was like a card that just saw a ton of play.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I have one more thing to talk about before
Okay,
we
hit me.
close this out.
Okay.
We talked a little bit earlier about some cards with art that you remembered or appreciated.
Mhm.
I think two of my favorite arts are in this set,
Okay.
and I forgot to include them in the show notes.
All right.
Any guesses?
Hmm. Um. I was gonna say the Evolving Wilds.
Yep, that is my favorite Evolving Wilds. That is one of them.
Look at me go. That Evolving Wilds is iconic.
Yep.
Oh, and it's the Yelling Duress.
It is the Duress. Yep, the Duress. That's my favorite Duress as well.
So this is Kolagon screaming at itty bitty baby
Zergo.
Zergo.
Yep.
Um.
Yep, that's my favorite Duress and my favorite Evolving Wilds.
Yeah. All from this little set that could.
Yep.
Like long-term impacts on Magic. The thing I thought was like it brought back the commands. And I
Yeah.
feel like we've had like commands way more since this.
Yeah.
Like
Definitely. I mean, they've even started doing them as like not cycles. Like sometimes we'll just randomly get a command.
yeah. So like the commands gives people like flexible cards.
Mhm.
That's like the one thing that came out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we had commands before this set though.
We did, but they hadn't been around for a long time.
Yeah, not since Lorwyn.
Right, and like I feel like now, if there's a multicolored set, you're almost disappointed that there's not like a command.
Yeah.
Right. And then what else? I mean, for a while, like the Death Mist Raptor Den Protector thing was like you can win games with just overwhelming value.
Mhm.
Right. And that was like incidental value.
Yeah. So I know you didn't play a ton before this set,
Mm-hmm.
like after your return to Magic or whatever.
Yeah.
One of the things, like we've mentioned the Den Protector Death Mist Raptor thing a few times now, and I think that probably can be considered a lasting effect on a game, because before this, like I don't remember any engines. And now, like everything is an engine. Magic has become about engines.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they're just single card engines. Looking at you, 2020 Magic, but
yeah.
Like before this we had like Theros block standard, and I don't remember like Pack Rat wasn't. It's not really an engine because you're not like gaining cards out of it. It's just like making value. And it's not even really value because they're just bigs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like the Innistrad stuff, standards, like it was Delver and then like Thragtusk Blink stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like
those I guess Resto Thragtusk was kind of an engine.
Not like an engine. Like that was just like a favorable interaction. Like I think like an engine is like a repeatable way. Right? It's not like once you got a Resto Angel out, you have to like blink your Thragtusk every turn or every other turn.
Yeah.
Right. Where with this you got like a Den Protector, and you're like, well, I'm gonna get back some Death Mist Raptors. That's gonna like buy me time to get the next Den Protector, and then I can just like keep bringing back 3/3s. And like if you've played limited or even like constructed Magic, if your opponent gets like a free like 2 free 3/3s like every other turn, like you're in a world of hurt.
mean, that's the whole
Like,
point of Dredge, right? Is getting
yeah,
free 3/3s.
and free tutus and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess modern dredges prize the
Price
amalgam. But you're just
amalgam.
like,
Yeah, that's
oh,
what I was thinking.
I paid no mana for this.
Right.
I was thinking bridge from below, free bridge from below wizards, um, free Golgari grave troll,
Died for Hogak's
uh,
sins.
died for Hoga exactly, and then you printed uh, a free flash shuffle your library.
Yeah.
Um, hey, I'm pretty impressed that I got the Evolving Wilds and the Duress. That was
Yeah.
pretty good. Pretty good. Uh, we've been on a lot of car rides.
Lots of conversations about Magic cards.
Yes. So yeah, like this was, I think, a
simpler
good
time.
set. Simpler times. I think it was a fine set,
Mhm.
but like going back through the cards, not like in limited, nothing super memorable,
Yeah.
right? But like looking at the old constructed Pro Tour decks, it's like, oh yeah, I remember that deck.
Yep.
I remember the cards in that deck. Like, okay, I remember all these now.
Yep.
And it is nice to see that, like, there wasn't like, hey, we gotta put Elish Norn on the box.
Mm-hmm.
So we need Elish Norn to be absurd.
Better make it good. No, what was on the Dragon's
Okay.
box? Culligan, I think.
Was it?
I
Maybe.
think so.
I don't have a Dragon's box laying around.
I
An
used
8-year-old
to.
Magic box.
I used to.
Yeah, but like, or like, remember Avacyn
Yeah.
from Shadows over Innistrad?
Yeah.
Right, like, we better make this card amazing.
Yeah.
This, like, all the Dragon Lords, they were different, but they were all relatively playable.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like, if you were like, I love red green, you can play Dragon Lord Atarka.
I
It'd be
lost
fine.
to many Dragon Lord Atarkas.
Right? If you're like, hey, I love blue black, hey, Silumgar, Dragon Lord Silumgar, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So can totally do those things. So it's nice to see there was like variety.
Yeah.
All right. You got anything else, or have we reached the end?
I think we've reached the end. I can't think of like I said, like this set was not super, like even though it had some important stuff in it, for whatever reason, it's not like super memorable in my head. I had kind of a hard
Yeah.
time remembering what was going on then.
Yeah.
Which
And
I guess kind of means it was, even though there's some good cards, it was kind of a milquetoast set.
yeah. Well, also, like, this is part of the argument why they got rid of like 3-block sets.
Yeah.
Right? Because like you would kind of like lose, like the sets would all kind of get mushed together in your head when you looked back. And there was always like a worse set out of the block
Yeah.
that maybe we didn't need. And so they were like, if we go to 2 sets, we can just have, in theory, 2 bangers.
Well, like think about how good the fetch lands were. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
everybody remembers cons for the fetch lands. And then think about how good Ugin was. Everybody remembers Fate for Ugin. And then, yeah, there's some good stuff in Dragons, but all of it, like even Coco, pales in comparison to like Ugin or fetch lands.
Yeah. Was this, I know they did it in Fate, where the fetch lands were sometimes in the land slot.
There were no
They weren't
fetch-
in Dragons.
No, that was just Fate.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Yep.
So, with all that, I think we have a show.
We have a show.
So, if you want to reach out to us on social media, say hi, throw in some show ideas, all those links are in the description below. So, go check them out.
Yeah, hit them up. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to help support us, keep us going, there's 2 ways you can do that. The first is TCG Player through our affiliate link, tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. Head on over to TCG Player with that link, and anything you purchase will help to support the show. We'll get a percentage of your final purchase to pay your hosting fees and whatever else we got going on. We'd appreciate it. If you want to support us more directly, patreon.com/casualtryhardmtg is where you can do that. Chip a couple bucks in if you think we're worth it, and you get access to our show notes. You get access to more content through our pre-show, and you also get put on my mailing list for when I have cool stuff to send out to you guys. So
Yeah.
chip a couple bucks in. We'd appreciate it.
Yes, please. All right. So with that, we'll catch you on the internet.
We'll catch you on the internet.